Have you ever heard that writing is 2% inspiration and 98% perspiration? What if I told you that writing could be 98% inspiration? Welcome to Intuitive Writer. I'm your host, Camille Chan. I'm here to show you how you can tap into inspiration and make it a part of your everyday writing practice. Say goodbye to those days of perspiring over the keyboard and hello to inspiration. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Intuitive Writer podcast. I'm your host, Camille Chan, and over the last 8 weeks, I've spent a lot of time sharing a lot of tips and tricks for bringing intuitive writing into your everyday writing practice. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a peek into my writing life and show you exactly how I am using a lot of the things that I've been talking about. So the first thing that I'm doing is I am proactively managing my energetic space. And we talked about this in the last episode, how important it is to really be proactive about what you're letting in and what you're not letting in, so that you can really give your full attention and the proper focus to the energies that you are working with. So last weekend, I finished recording the Intuitive Writer Activation Workshop. It was a total of 8 modules, and so this past week I've just really been shedding and releasing all of that energy that had been building and collecting inside me and moving through me. And in doing that, what I am doing now then is preparing the way for some new writing material to come through. And I'm really excited for this. I started this Intuitive Writer adventure back in October, so it's been almost 2 months since I have done any fiction writing, and of course the fiction writing is near and dear to my heart. It's really what I love, so I've felt the story shifting back into me, and it feels really good. It feels like reuniting with an old friend. So it feels really good. But I also have a lot of gratitude to all the energy that came forward to work with Intuitive Writer that wanted to be expressed through me, because I think this process is really important and really transformational, and I think that if you start incorporating it into your life, you're really going to see massive shifts in your writing life. So that's the first thing I've been doing, is just consciously releasing one energy and bringing another energy in. The second thing that I'm doing a lot of is asking, and we covered that in episode 7 of the podcast, The Art of Asking, and that is simply using my voice to talk to my story and my characters and asking them to step forward, Hey guys, here we are, ready to work on book 3 in the series, and I am so ready for you to come forward. I'm so ready to work with you and bring you to life on the page. So, please step forward so I can see you and hear you and feel you and just bring you in to share with all my readers out there. So I am consciously and actively using my voice every day to talk to my story and asking it to come in. The third thing that I'm doing a ton of is meditating. And of all the things that I talk about in my intuitive writing practice, meditation is the big boy. This is the one part of the practice where I get the largest downloads, where my connection is really intense and I can receive a lot of information. So I have been meditating, and again, it feels really good because I've been in the energy of this nonfiction work, and it feels so amazing to be sitting in my meditations and calling back in my characters and this fictional world that I've created. So it just feels really good. And when I sat down a couple nights ago, it was the first time in almost 2 months where I'd sat down and called on this series to step back forward and work with me. It was a really cool experience. So I'll just share a little bit of it with you. I'm working on bringing in book 3 in my Zommunist Invasion series, and I would say over the last 6 months I've received a lot of downloads about different things that are going to come through in book 3, And right before I put all my fiction work aside to work on the Intuitive Writer podcast, my guide showed me the basic structural format of the third book, and it's really interesting. It's not going to follow the same format as the first two books in the series. The first two books in the series are told with alternating points of view between two different characters. And this third book is actually going to have 4 points of view, and it's going to be a little bit more like 4 novellas stitched together because my characters have been scattered. So what I actually got a visual representation. They showed me 4 rectangles in a grid, and that each of these stories are going to be these individual adventures and journeys, but they are all going to be stitched together in the larger adventure of the Soviet invasion and the zombie apocalypse in the Cold War. So I knew that was the structure going in, but I didn't know who the points of view were going to be. I had some guesses. I was wrong. And when I sat down in meditation and began working on one of the sections, I immediately had a new character step forward and start sharing her arc, the arc that she'd like to see happen in her part of the story. And she's a minor character from book 2. Her name is Amanda. She's a nerdy chess player. She's super cool. And I knew there was weight and substance to Amanda, so I suspected she might show up at some point to be a main point of view character. So I wasn't completely surprised when she showed up. I just, the characters that she's with in the scene, I had suspected that one of them might step forward instead. But yeah, it was Amanda that stepped forward in this meditation. So I've been doing that a lot and receiving so much information from them. So I know I know all 4 of them now, who the 4 point of view characters are going to be. I'm still working on fleshing out a lot of details, but I know the 4 energies that I'm going to be working with. The 4th thing that I have been actively doing often as I'm bringing in this third book is I have been making time for stillness. And for me, what stillness means is no connection to electronic devices. Does that sound scary? I think to a lot of people that might actually sound scary. And I'm with you. It's something new that I've really been doing in 2020. But what I do is I set aside time where I am not listening to a podcast, I'm not watching TV, I'm not listening to music, I'm not listening to an audiobook, I'm not taking a webinar, no contact with electronics. It's just me and my brain and my intuition. And usually what I like to do, I like to go out and there's a 200-acre park right around the corner from me. So I spend a lot of time with myself and my thoughts and my intuition and the universe in that park. So I have been consciously carving out this time for stillness, and I have to tell you, it has really become a really valuable time for me. I'm finding that when I slow down and I break away from all those things that distract me, I'm really able to stretch out my intuition and connect with the universe and these different energies, and I get so many downloads. Not quite as many as when I meditate, but I get a lot. I have a lot of stuff come through in these times of stillness. And maybe exercising in a park isn't your thing, but there's lots of ways that you can bring stillness. I mean, you can go wash dishes, you can fold laundry, or go outside and blow some leaves, or just go for a walk. But the whole point is not having any sort of distraction and just really letting yourself connect with what's out there. And sometimes when I go out for my my runs, I set an intention, or I'll ask aloud, hey, can you help me with this? And sometimes what I ask for comes through. Sometimes I'm ignored and I bring in different stuff, but whatever it is, I'm finding that I am bringing in valuable information and given stuff on a daily basis when I carve out this time and take advantage of it. So these are the 5 things that I am doing every day to connect with book 3 in my series. And just to recap the 5 for you, I am actively managing my energetic space, releasing one creative energy, bringing new ones in. I am asking for help every day. I'm talking to my characters. I'm talking to my story. I am meditating. I am consciously carving out time to connect with the universe and to connect with these energies that want to co-create with me. I am carving out time for stillness, which is such a great exercise in letting your intuition just stretch out into the universe and make connections and to help you bring in these downloads. And then I'm journaling everything. That's the 5th thing. So these are all the things that I am doing actively right now, and I am taking the next 2 weeks off from my job, and I plan to write every day. And I'm so excited. I'm going to binge write. I'm going to binge write every day, and I'm going to be doing all these things. I'm going to make sure that I'm going out into the park and exercising and having that stillness. I'm going to make sure that I'm meditating, and I'm going to be journaling and talking to my characters. And just being mindful as other things come in. I'm going to make sure I really hold space for the story. I don't want anything else to push it out. And in fact, I've made the decision I'm not going to create any podcasts over the next 2 weeks. So there'll be a little delay in January, but you'll know it's because I'm writing. I'm practicing what I preach. Living the dream over here. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this a little bit of insight into my personal writing life and what I am actively doing right now. And before we wrap up this episode, I just wanted to talk a little bit about 2020 as a creative person and some of what I have learned from 2020. I think everybody will agree that this year has definitely been the year where we have collectively been shoved into the forge fire. Whether we wanted to be in the fire or not, the universe shoved us into this fire, and we've all really been forced to face these flames. And it's looked different for everybody. And I don't pretend that my story reflects exactly what anybody else is going through, but I can say that collectively we have been shoved into the fire. And what I've really learned since March, since quarantine went into effect, is that when you are shoved into the forge fire, you have 2 choices. You can let yourself transform like a phoenix, or you can be burned to a pile of ash. And honestly, the choice is up to you. It really is. And one thing that I have made a conscious decision about in my life is not to buy into this 2020 rhetoric that's going around. Oh, 2020 sucks. Oh, 2020, I can't wait to see you out the door. Oh, thank God 2020 is coming to an end. There's all this negative rhetoric around it. And honestly, I don't want to bring that into my life. I don't want to bring that into my home life or into my creative life. So at some point, I definitely had some struggles throughout this time, but what I really made up my mind to do, I made up my mind not to let anybody else tell me how I was going to wake up and feel, most especially the media. The media would like us to be afraid every second of every day, and I had to consciously make up my mind that I wasn't going to buy into it. That didn't mean I was reckless. I have actively done things that make me feel safe, but I'm not going to be afraid. If I need food for my family, I'm not going to be afraid to go to the grocery store. I am just going to put on my mask and I'm going to wash my hands when I get out, right? I keep a bottle of sanitizer in my car. So I've really just made up my mind to decide for myself how I want to feel about things, and I'm not going to listen to the media and all the rhetoric that's out there. And once I was able to kind of make this shift and decide that I was going to face 2020 on my own terms and not on the terms that the media was dictating, I really saw some amazing leaps in my creative life. And last Easter, I sat down to start this new series that you've heard me mention, Zombiness Invasion. And in about 2.5 months, I wrote the first 2 books in the series. And that is the fastest I've ever written anything. To crank out 2 full-length novels in such a short amount of time, that was a new leap for me. And I realized that, this is the transformation that we're all being offered. Like you could just be pissed off and, I could have been pissed off and just slamming wine and binge watching TV, which I had my moments. But, I also just decided that I really wanted to switch my focus away from that and really focus on what I love doing, which is writing. So as we exit 2020, I know by the time you guys get this podcast, there's only going to be a few days left. But honestly, the show's not over. 10 minutes ago, the emergency siren was going off on my phone because where I live, the Bay Area in Northern California, everything's just being shut down. So the emergency alerts were going around for this COVID shutdown. So the show's not over. I know we're transitioning from 2020 to 2021, but we're still all going to be given this opportunity to decide how we want to show up in the flames. And, I know some of us have challenges that are bigger than others, but, the bigger the flame, the bigger the transformation. So I just invite you guys to put on a new pair of glasses and, view this time period maybe in a different light than you have been. Because you're really being given an opportunity to grow and change and bring in new teachings and bring in new forms of gratitude. And gosh, the other thing I've done in 2020 is start this podcast. And to be honest, I have known that I had this message to share for over a year. I bought the darn microphone over a year ago, and it sat in a box in its cellophane wrapper for over a year. And it took all of this work this personal work that I did in 2020 to finally find the courage to release my resistance around being seen and speaking up and talking about what I do. Because let's be honest, some of the things I talk about are kind of crazy. And I know how it sounds when I talk about a writing guide that wears a Bob Ross wig. Like, I know what that sounds like. And it took a lot of courage to be honest and authentic and share that story with all of you. But like I said, I really embraced that as part of my 2020 journey, because I do want to transform. I don't want to stay stagnant. I want to be pushing against the boundaries of my fears and just learning how to grow and expand as a creator, and as a person. So to all of you wonderful writing folks out there, you beautiful creative souls who are all here to co-create with the universe and create beautiful works and have beautiful interactions with spirit and the universe, I wish you all the best. And I hope that you can maybe look at your own life and maybe step into this transformative energy that's being offered to us. So thank you so much for being here today. If you enjoy this podcast and enjoy what I have to teach, I would really appreciate it if you'd help me spread the word. Please share on social media. Please share with your writing friends. And please just help me get the word out. My weekly show goes out on both YouTube and on all major podcast platforms. So I'm readily available and free on many different platforms. And I'd appreciate a like or a subscribe, whatever your preferred platform is. And like I said, I'm going to take 2 weeks off to really focus on bringing in some good old-fashioned zombie adventure. So I'm going to take a little break from the podcasting, but I will definitely be back in 2021. But until then, I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye.